Hey there, folks, and welcome back to Echoes by Nova Box. We are in the bunker, and we're off to some more questioning. Let's head to Gianna. Nothing. Head to Rose. Nothing. Curtis? There we go. I'd like to go see Abel Smith and Terry Graham. Access to the last survivors of the Viracocha project is very restricted, as you must realize. Of course, I could make an exception for you, but you'll have to explain why. There's no point stonewalling him. The only way he'd agree to my request was to lay my cards on the table. To give him a rundown of my meeting with Rose Morrison, the clues found in the bunker, and the mysterious notebook left by Morrison. Then the notebook to the forensics team, maybe they can get something off it. Alright. And Abel and Terry? Well, let security know they should allow you to visit. As you might guess, they haven't been exactly been cooperative with the Bureau. I guess they don't trust us, and I really can't blame them after the organization fiasco following to Dr. Petrovsky's death. Maybe you're a better place to get something out of them. Alright. Go pay them a visit. Greenhearth's new hospital was a modern concrete block, which had probably been hastily built after the fire at the old building. After I introduced myself at the reception, they took me down some corridors to a small visiting room. A few minutes later, Abel Smith and Terry Graham came in. Ricky, this is a surprise. Has the nice detective come back to save us? If Abel didn't seem much different from the last time I'd seen him, Terry seemed lessened somehow. Every moment seemed to cause him pain as he hobbled in, leaning heavily on a cane. Seeing my concern, he said at once, "If you were wondering what happens when we stop taking your meds for too long, here's the result." I'm sorry. Oh, I know I was letting myself in by stopping. We wanted to be helpful for the nice detective's investigation. We don't want to forget our past again, at least not while Oscar's on the loose. The feds have put us under observation here. But you didn't come here to listen to us moaning. We heard about your wife. What can we do to help you? Apparently, Oskar took some radio equipment during the events at the hospital. Does that mean anything to you? I don't know, Ricky. It was just the head of security and everything was classified. The department called applied radio astronomy on the top floor, but I have absolutely no idea what they were doing here. Maybe the man in the hat was trying to call the Star People. Harry and I turned to look at Abel. The Star People? Yes, the Star People love some things. The bad man and his friend with eyes everywhere found them, and they used them on us to try to understand them. And now we hear the echoes of the stars. The man in the hat hears them. I hear them too, very loud, because the bad man used a strange bell I gave to the doctor a lot on me. And so we can see ourselves on the equipment and know where we are. What was even more baffling than usual. It took a minute to try and comprehend the information before saying. So Oscar's trying to locate, Oscar's trying to send the signal to the stars? Maybe, because the Star People want to know if the dinner is served, and the person hiding the man in the hat wants to tell them yes. That's why they had to stop the experiment. I'm sorry, Mr. Nice Detective. I don't know how to explain it better. I didn't Terry, but he looked as confused as I was. Sorry, buddy. Lost me too. Abel looked hurt. He was clearly trying his best, but his best was still pretty vague. Given Oscar's calculation notes to the feds, maybe they'd managed to do something. Maybe they'd managed to do something with him. Let's hope so, because if there was one thing I was sure of, it was that whatever Oskar was up to was nothing good. Unfortunately, my visit hadn't helped me one bit. Questions were stacking up one after another, but I was still no closer to finding Jody. What did Abel mean by the Star People? Was he trying to tell me that Arthur's bell came from outer space? That seemed crazy, but everything I've seen here in Greenhearth was just as crazy. Didn't hang around after that, but I could tell they were glad to see a familiar face to escape for just a short while from their dreary routine. I didn't know then that that was the last time I'd see them. Let's try Gianna now? No. Ernest. No. Curtis. No. Probably Rose, isn't it? Any developments? Yes, I'll need to scan the contents of this phone. We got the equipment to do that, but it'll take a little time, Detective. Can I ask what you're hoping to find? I think this is the phone Morrison's been using while he's been on the run. With a little look, the GPS history will confirm his presence near my home when my wife disappeared. In this case, that should certainly be enough to convince Curtis to help you. Come back in a while. I should have the result. I'll wait if that's okay with you. As you wish. I hardly had time for a cup of coffee at the bar before Agent Parker was back. Detective, here we are. I've got the results of the phone analysis. And it is Oskar Morrison's phone. We've matched some fingerprints from the phone. And as for the GPS coordinates, we've been able to recover his itinerary. Did indeed go to your home in the time window we've got for your wife's disappearance. What has he been doing during his 6 months on the run? Appears he was getting closer to you, but very carefully avoiding the major highways and mostly getting it around on foot. Morrison knew he was wanted, that the slightest mistake would lead to his imprisonment. Once his plan was accomplished, he probably stole a vehicle so he came straight back here to Greenhearth. Do you know how he managed to come back to the town without getting caught? No, that's something we don't know for now. There's another gray area. Morrison seems obsessed with you. His only goal, while he's been a fugitive, has been to ensure that you return to Greenhearth. Do you have any idea what he wants? Exactly what he wanted? No, had made that perfectly clear. He wanted the bell. Rather, Ettore Marjorana wanted the bell, and Oskar was under his control. I couldn't tell the feds that without also revealing to them the existence of the bell. My bargaining chip to get my wife back. Simply replied, No, I don't know what he wants, and I'd like to find that out too. Parker watched me silently with his keen gaze. I slowly suspected something was waiting for me to confess. Well, let's hope we get to the bottom of this mystery. Curtis already knows, but I think it would be wise for you to pay him a little bit to figure out what to do next. Alright, well thanks for the tip on where to go. When I returned to the police station with the proof that Jody really had been kidnapped by Oskar Morrison, Curtis, who had first greeted me, had exchanged much of his self-confident arrogance for an air of downtrodden remorse. Detective Fox. My team has sent over their conclusions about Morrison's phone. On behalf of the federal agency, I want to extend my deepest apologies. I should never have doubted your honesty. You made me lose precious time. You must be aware that the first 48 hours of a kidnapping are crucial, and I had to spend most of those convincing you to get involved. Yes, and from now on, you'll have the Bureau's complete support. We're going to do everything in our power to get your wife back to you, safe and sound. And I'd like to officially invite you to join the team and help us apprehend Oskar Morrison. It's clear to me now that your unique perspective on this case could really be a great aid in helping us reach a successful outcome for you and us both. Do I want to do it? Alright, I accept your invitation. What's our next move? Notebook you found. Morrison's bunker's promising, but we'll need a bit more time to analyze it. Suggest we meet up tomorrow morning when I'll have the first results. I'm back to the hotel for the night. I didn't know how much Oskar was responsible for the kidnapping and how much this Ettore Marjorana was, but my determination to make them pay hadn't wavered in the face of this path full of obstacles that kept me from finding my wife. I didn't know what their plans were either. I thought of the bell, of the star people that Abel had spoken of, and of his creature, the creature the foreman had mentioned before he died. It's all connected. I knew that now. And especially, I hope that wherever she was, Jody was okay. Finally sank into a dreamless sleep late in the night. Next day, I was woken by a call from the sheriff. Greenhearth Hospital had been set on fire. It was still too soon to establish a death toll, but there was still hope for Terry Graham and Abel Smith, who were there for the time being among the missing. Vero had once again failed to protect 2 of the last survivors of the Viracocha project. Went to the police station. I hoped there might finally be some good news. Chris was waiting for me in the precinct break room. Gianna and Bull seemed to have been called in too, and were already there. Wow, they've really kind of just like reversed the coloring, haven't they, for this part? Map of the town was pinned to the wall, and several zones had been highlighted. Good, we can start. The notebook belonging to Oskar Morrison that you found, Mr. Fox, has been analyzed by our scientific team. Apparently, it's possible to triangulate the position of the survivors of the Viracocha project using radio equipment. Radio equipment which corresponds to that stolen by Morrison during the event, which took place in the former Viracocha Project Research Center 6 months ago, I suppose. Just a minute. How come the survivors are visible with radio waves? It's connected to the experiments that were carried out during the Viracocha project. As you know, the survivors were treated for medical and psychiatric problems. I can't go into details because it's classified, but Morrison's calculations allowed him to establish that the survivors gave off a detectable radio signal with radar waves. How would Morrison want to find the last survivors? Especially since we know where they are. Morrison didn't necessarily know about Abel Smith and Terry Graham's presence in Greenhearth Hospital. But he was pretty quick to burn it as soon as he had the information. Hang on, are we sure it was Morrison who set fire to the hospital? It does correspond with his usual modus operandi. It does indeed, Mr. Bull. We've been able to determine that Oskar Morrison was behind the fire at the morgue, and everything suggests, with the new evidence, it was also him who set fire to the research center in the old hospital. It sounds like he wanted to finish the job the foreman started and eliminate all the other survivors. That's the hypothesis of the Bureau, too. Yes, Petrovsky's former patients must represent a threat to his plans. Plans we do not know anything about at the moment. Oskar, or rather, Ettore, must be trying to find the bell. Why was he so intent on Arthur's former patients when he knew it was in my possession? Did he decide to eliminate the other potential threats before redoubling his efforts to get a hold of the bell? Well, I was here. I wasn't going anywhere until I found my wife, and he must believe that Gianna, Ernest, and I wouldn't represent a danger once the other survivors had been eliminated? Alright, would you please now take a look at the map of the town? Several zones have been circled on the map of Greenhearth. First appear to be expecting us to ask them about them. We'll go with the weak signal first. Find out the zone on the map which said weak signal? Probably a detection artifact, there's no point considering it. The signal was very weak compared to the other two. Radio specialist was just being thorough, so they put it on the map. Strange. It matches the position of Arthur's cabin. He heard me. Curtis didn't react to the remark. Signal B. I suppose this zone is the hospital? Exactly. We started the readings during the night before the fire. We're sure this corresponds to the position of Abel Smith and Terry Graham. Maybe even to that of Oskar Morrison, who must have been near the hospital at that time. And signal A. Circle zone show the building at some distance from the town in the middle of the forest. What's there at that spot on the map? There's been a Catholic mission there for centuries. The monks who take care of the place are almost completely self-sufficient. They don't usually get mixed up in town business. Okay, so why has the signal been detected there? Stephen Lloyd. Ernest was talking about the last known survivor of the Viracocha project, reported missing years ago. He'd been the first the Bureau lost trace of before Abel went back to the hospital and long before Arthur took up his post in Greenhearth. Yes, Mr. Bull, that's what we think too. Mr. Lloyd has indeed found refuge in the monastery, and everything suggests that he's Oskar Morrison's next target. Right, I suppose you can guess what comes next. Detective Fox, the Bureau would like you to go to the monastery so you can help us find Stephen Lloyd before he's eliminated by Oskar Morrison. To assist you in that task, you'll be supported by Sheriff Walter, who you've already worked with, as well as Mr. Bull here. Does it mean you're going to take off this electronic tag I've been dragging around on my ankle for months? No, Mr. Bull, it means you're going to enjoy a temporary waiver of your home detention if, of course, you agree to help us. Bring me Stephen Lloyd safe and sound, and we'll reevaluate your case. Agent Parker is already in place with a team. They're ready to step in if Morrison tries anything. Jimmy, I'm going to supervise the operations around the hospital until you get back. For the time being, the bodies of Abel Smith and Terry Graham haven't been found, so if it turns out they survived the fire, we'll have to organize their extraction to a secure health facility. Gianna, Ernest, and I left the police station and climbed into the sheriff's car. After a lively 10-minute drive along the hairpin bends that climbed the mountainside, we came into view of the old Franciscan mission. This, slight move is, messing with my eyes as I'm trying to read. The neo-Gothic architecture style was reminiscent of the East Coast. Gargoyles, bas-relief angel, and other oddities. Basically spooky. Gianna told me that the monument was too close to Greenhearth to become a tourist attraction. The monks who lived there had been left in peace, and references to the building had been removed from maps of the region. Gianna approached the man in the homespun habit, who was waiting for us at the entrance. She exchanged a few words with him, and he allowed us to enter. We went to the building, but I don't remember if I began my investigation straight away or if I spoke with my companions before I started the search. We're gonna question, because I want to get out of that screen. Fox. Gianna looked delighted to be out on the ground again after the long months confined to the office by the Federal Bureau. I found a way into the cellar. You should take a look. There's some interesting things. She pointed out a staircase and a vaulted passageway. Don't you want to come with me? I think your investigating skills are better honed than mine. I'd rather be here, ready to take action if more sooner this Etor shows their face. Alright. If there's anything else, you know where to find me. Alright, so we got the cellar unlocked now. Ernest Bull. Aw, Ricky, come over here. I've got something to say to you. Ernest and I moved away. I have heard from some of my contacts. Apparently there's insurrection brewing among the Feds. Insurrection? Yes. I've been informed that a secret faction within the Feds posted to Greenhearth are cooking up something. You think Parker? Probably. I can't see credits turning against the hierarchy. I figure they're ready to leap into action as soon as they've traced you know what. Bull was referring to the bell, of course. I shouldn't have been surprised that Parker knew of its existence and wanted to get hold of it. I'd have to stay on my toes and be ready to pull the wool over his eyes. Anyway, could you drop a quiet word in the sheriff's ear, please? As for me, I'm going to keep an eye on the comings and goings. Come and find me when you found Stephen Lloyd, if you don't mind. Hey, let's do that. Watch yourself, Ricky. Everything might look under control with the Bureau, but the situation could get messy pretty fast. Back to the sheriff. Well, asked me to let you know he thinks there's going to be an uprising among the Feds. Oh, I've got to admit, I've been afraid of that ever since Parker turned up. An uprising? Really? I think we can believe Ernest. He seems pretty sure of how reliable his information is. Let's be doubly careful, Fox. Curtis is behaving like a Boy Scout, and Parker, I don't know. Something shady about him, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Still, he did help me. Without him, I never could have convinced Curtis. Did he really help you, or did your actions merely serve his interests? Anyway, we'll just have to be on our guard. I'm going to keep an eye on the comings and goings here. As for you, as soon as you get your hands on Lloyd, I suggest you come and get me, and then all three of us, you, Bull, and me, will be his escort. I think that's our best chance of keeping him safe while we get him out of here. Right, I'll be back when I've got something. Alright, start with the cloister, I guess. Found ourselves in the Abbey cloister. Several monks were going about their business. I remember speaking to them to try and glean some information. Oop. One of the monks was dressed differently from the others. I figured he must be of a higher rank. Went over to him. Father? What is this intrusion into the house of the Lord? We had an agreement with Greenhearth. Some of my brothers have made a vow of silence and isolation. The situation is unacceptable. Somebody dangerous has infiltrated your abbey. Listen, my son, what you say makes no sense. We have been self-sufficient here for years. We have nothing to hide. Why would somebody dangerous, as you say, come after us? We know that Stephen Lloyd is hiding here. Someone is after him, someone who wishes to take his life. I'm sorry, my son, but Stephen Lloyd is no longer here. I have to ask you to leave the premises immediately. Father Diego wasn't going to be easy to convince, but he had to hand over Stephen Lloyd before it was too late. No point insisting at the moment without more proof of the gravity of the situation. One of the monks noticed me as he crossed the cloister. I approached him. He looked mildly irritated by the intrusion of the town people into his daily life. What do you want now? What do you mean now? What are you trying to say? I don't know if I should talk to you, but I think Father Diego has lost his mind. Moved closer to me and added in a confidential murmur. First, we welcomed that woman a while back. She was injured, certainly, but we are a serious monastic order. We can't just take people in at the drop of a hat. Now all these town people have come and invaded our space. It's very upsetting. Then he seemed to pull himself together and was about to turn away. Wait, this woman, can you? Give me, my son, I've already said too much. Shouldn't have unburdened myself, so if you'll excuse me. But, sorry, I have a lot to do. I have chores in the vegetable garden today. To clean the glass house before sex. You see? The monk turned and strode across the cloister, clearly in a hurry to get away. What are you even talking about? Did it have anything to do with my investigation or Jodie's disappearance? Hard to say, but as soon as everything seemed to be centered around the Viracocha project in this town, I guess information might be useful sooner or later. As soon as he noticed my presence, I his, one of the monks turned and hurried away down the corridor. In the cop long enough for my reflex to immediately be on the alert. I tried to follow him, but before I could catch up with him, he seemed to have vanished. Had it been Etor who could have borrowed the habit to go unnoticed? The corridor he'd taken led to the monk cells. One was guarded by a rather imposing monk. Is this where I'd find Stephen Lloyd? I went nearer. Good morning, brother. The monk was silent. Good morning, brother? And stared at me stolidly, but seemed intractable. I decided to leave it for the moment and go back to the cloister. I don't recall finding anything else in the Abbey cloister. Abbey cellar. Abbey cellar was a gloomy, vaulted cavern, badly lit. Agent Parker, who was already there, seemed to take note of each tiny detail of the room with his hawkish gaze. He came to join me. What's with the guy with, like, the hospital-looking wheelie thingy? Ah, Detective Fox, I see that you, too, have sniffed out the place where some promising clues may be hidden. Fortunately, I'm afraid my investigating days are behind me. I have to stand ready to order my team as soon as Morrison shows his face. Incidentally, we found some radio equipment which seems to correspond to that stolen from the old hospital. I believe we may reasonably conclude that Morrison is here. I'd suggest you be careful, Detective, and don't hesitate to come to me. I'll be happy to give you my advice. Without waiting for any reply, he left me to my investigation. It was a suspicious scroll. A hastily drawn sketch lay on the floor. I was no expert, but I thought I recognized Oskar Morrison's hand, but the lines were far more disorganized and hesitant than usual. Wonder if Parker could tell me more. A monk was... Oh, it was a broom. A monk was sweeping up, muttering quietly. I went over to him. Is everything all right, brother? Yes, sorry. Look at the image I'm presenting of our monster. I shouldn't complain like that when there are strangers in our midst. You don't like sweeping? No, it's not that. But Brother Jeremiah should be doing it this weekend. Once again, he's unavailable. Brother Jeremiah? Don't tell the abbot I was complaining, but I do understand why he gets so much preferential treatment. This time it's supposed to be because of the police. What's going to be next time? Now tell me this. I'm sorry, please excuse me. I shouldn't be moaning to you. If you just allow me to concentrate on my work. Monk turned his back on me and returned to his sweeping with extra vigor, continuing to grumble under his breath. Brother Jeremiah was probably in the guarded cell near the cloister. Was Stephen Lloyd hiding behind the alias? Strange symbol had been drawn in blood on the pillar. Does this have anything to do with Stephen? Or with Etor? Maybe Parker could tell me more. Still more. Here? Yeah. There was blood on one of the pillars. It was still congealing, so it was recent, and the patterns of the stain suggested a physical altercation. One of the monks had been attacked. It was possible that Etor had taken his habit to get around the abbey unnoticed. That corroborated with my theory of the identity of the suspicious monk who had encountered in the cloister. Fortunately, I hadn't found the victim's body, but I could hope that this clue would be enough to convince the abbot to let me meet Stephen Lloyd. As far as I remember, there were no other clues hidden in the cellar. Lewis Parker. Detective Fox, how can I help you? Tell me about Stephen Lloyd. He's one of the 10 survivors of the incident which put an end to the Viracocha project. Stephen Lloyd was high up in the hierarchy. He was one of the masterminds and, let's say, one of the founding fathers of the project. Wait a minute. Are you saying Stephen Lloyd is a person hidden behind the alias Tilkits? No, he was directly under Tilkits in the organization, if you see what I mean. So Lloyd could tell us plenty about the project if we manage to question him. It's hard to say, Detective. Lloyd's been missing for years. I'm afraid we're going to be a variance. I'm afraid we're going to find a very unstable and confused man. I see. Someone drew a symbol in blood. Does that mean anything to you? On one of these pillars. Show me. Parker and I went over to the pillar in question. Yes, the symbol is connected to a former member of the Viracocha project. Officially, he's supposed to be among the victims of the incident. Etor Marjorana. Parker surveyed me quietly before he said in a cold, guarded voice. I see you're better informed than I supposed. Since you're already in on the secret, there's no point equivocating. Ettore Marjorana and Oskar Morrison are two faces of the same entity, but Ettore Marjorana was put to sleep after the Viracocha Project debacle. As you may have realized, the individuals who participated in the experience at the hospital developed a kind of personal tick. Tick allowed them to establish their personality and keep control against the other implanted personalities. It appears that Ettore drew this symbol to avoid Oskar Morrison retaking command. See. What do you think of this drawing of Oscar's? It looks like Oscar's work. If I recall the work in the file right, the style corresponds to Oskar Morrison's, but it's as if he was interrupted suddenly. Wait a minute. If I've got this right, we conclude that Oskar Morrison tried to retake control over Ettore by doing the sketch. Ettore managed to keep control by painting the symbol in blood that I found. Is that right? That's exactly right. Unfortunately, that's not good news for us. Marjorana is dangerous and psychologically unstable. I'll tell my team to be ready to catch him. Right. Investigate. Father Diego. You sheltered the wounded woman a few months ago? One of your brothers told me. I don't see what else got to do with you, but yes, we didn't agree to grant asylum to a guest for a while. Did you describe her to me physically? She was a young woman, slim, about 30, maybe. Drive covered in bruises with at least one broken rib. Vision didn't require major medical attention, so I treated her here and let her use an empty cell while she healed enough to consider what to do next, physically and especially spiritually. Did she tell you why she was there? I didn't ask any questions, and she didn't wish to come to confession, but if you want to know what I think, bruises, broken rib, looked a lot like domestic violence. It's unusual, but fortunately it's not the first time we receive women in that situation, and it won't be the last. When she was back on her feet, she left. I gave her the address of the Convent of the Sisters of Mercy, which is a short day's walk from here by the forest pass, recommending that she should say that I sent her. Heard nothing since. Would the convent have let you know if she turned up here? Probably not. We don't have a telephone. The Mother Superior would have no reason to turn her away. I see. Thank you for answering my questions. And nothing to hide, my son. Do not forget that in the end it is our Lord Jesus Christ who will judge us all. Hearing the tale of the injured woman, I immediately thought of Liz, but I couldn't believe that she could have survived that fall. If she had, she wouldn't have come out of it with nothing but a broken rib and a few bruises. Must have been Ines Belkader? Adeline had been convinced that she was still alive. Since the abbot convinced the abbot to allow a meeting. Look, Father, Oh, hey. I got an achievement here about a possible survivor. Look, Father, I completely understand that you want to protect the members of your order, but I really need to talk to Stephen Lloyd. Let the agents do their jobs. They're better able than you are to protect him. My son, I've already told you. Stephen Lloyd is no longer. Brother Jeremiah, if you prefer. Where did you hear that name? Doesn't matter where I heard it. However, I do know where his cell is. It's the one guarded by one of the brothers, beside the cloisters, isn't it? Look. Sorry to insist, but you don't realize how much danger you're in. I'm certain now that the person we're looking for, Ettore Marjorana, has infiltrated your circle. This man is extremely dangerous. I found traces of blood in the cellar. I believe one of the monks has been attacked with the goal of stealing his habit. You suggest it's very serious, my son. See for yourself. Right. If I let you meet Brother Jeremiah, do you guarantee that you and the rest of the agents will leave the monastery immediately after? To the authority they promised that, but if I wanted to finally talk to the Lord, I didn't have much choice. I guarantee it. Very well, I'll tell Brother Robert to let you pass. Thank you very much, Father. Don't thank me. Do what you gotta do and leave. As for me, if I do indeed have a wounded monk, I must organize a search for him. The abbot turned away. Finally had free rein to meet Stephen Lloyd. Alright. When I went back to the cell, the monk guardian nodded and stepped back. A few months later, the door opened and a hooded monk crossed the threshold. By his hood, I could see that the left side of his face was disfigured. It looked like old burn scars. Brother Jeremiah? Good day, my son. Yes, I am Brother Jeremiah, and I greet you in Christ's peace. Brother, I wish to speak with Stephen Lloyd? Sorry, but it's been a long time since Stephen Lloyd has inhabited this fleshly body. Whether you're Stephen Lloyd or Brother Jeremiah, you're in danger. Ettore Majorana is looking for you. He wants to eliminate all survivors of the Viracocha project. You say it's no meaning for me, my son. I'm at peace. I'm ready to die. If our Lord Jesus Christ has decided to call me to him, whom I oppose his divine will. Wish to talk to Stephen, you will have to retrieve him. For that, you must sing the music of sinners and sunrise. The music of sinners and sunrise? Yes. Go, my son. Come back when you have found it. About the discussion with Parker earlier, Stephen Lloyd would have to do something for his personality to take control of Brother Jeremiah. Something, but what? I had to find what Brother Jeremiah called the music of sinners and sunrise. Don't move. I'll be right back. By the cloister again? There's a thingy on the ground here. She had parchment on which the psalm number 23 had been copied with some care. Are the psalms were the music of sinners that Brother Jeremiah had meant? I don't recall finding anything else in the Abbot Cloister. By the cellar again. There's two things here, actually. Old harmonica had been left here. Let's play music of sinners and sunrise for Brother Jeremiah. And another note. A sheet of paper lay on the floor. A sequence of numbers had been written on it. Clearly marked and highlighted was number 42 at the bottom of the page. I didn't see what a number could have to do with the music of sinners and sunrise, but finding it here was odd, so I pocketed the paper, planning to show it to Brother Jeremiah. But I remember there were no other clues hidden in the cellar. Recite the psalm. We're bound to recite psalm number 23. Brother Jeremiah listens to the end with a gentle smile. That is my favorite psalm, but why are you reciting it, my son? It's not the music of sinners and sunrise? No, my son, I'm afraid that's not the music that will awaken Stephen Lloyd from this fathomless torpor. Show the page with the numbers. I found this. Does it mean anything to you? 42. 42? Hand me the paperback. There's a personality who would respond to the call to number 42, but is not one that answers to the name of Stephen Lloyd. I see. Also, I realized I had the other spelling for Stephen that line there. Try something else. Play the harmonica. Took out the harmonica and tried my best to play a few notes. Give me that, you don't know how to play. Brother Jeremiah took the instrument from me, lowered his head, and began to play House of the Rising Sun. Stephen Lloyd? Yes, who are you, and why have you woken me? Detective Ricky Fox. I'm investigating the Viracocha project. The Viracocha project? I don't want to talk about that. Why do you think I took the habit and buried my personality so deeply beneath Jeremiah as I hasn't emerged for years? You're in danger. Play cackle with desperate, demented laughter. I've been in danger ever since I took the disastrous decision to take part in that accursed project. What's changed that you decide now to wake me? Ettore Majorana has kidnapped my wife and is killing all the survivors of the Viracocha project. There's only you left. Ettore Majorana? That paper pusher? Certainly not, but... He had dread in his eyes before he got a grip of himself and added, the creature. It was hiding in Majorana. Like a person to mention the existence of a creature after the foreman. Hold on. What's this stuff about a creature? Will he give a nervous giggle? You don't even know. We all thought it had died in the fire. If it turns out to survive, assuring my safety is the least of your worries. If it gets its hands on the object, we're all screwed. All screwed, you hear me? Lloyd began screaming, glaring at me wildly. Calm down, Mr. Lloyd, and explain it to me, please. It seemed like a boundless effort. He finally managed to get a hold of himself. I'm sorry, I got carried away. Hey, you need to know the risk you're running. Ask me anything you want. I'll try to throw some light on all this. You know who's hiding behind the Tilkit's alias? Yes, it was the operation director of the Viracocha project. In theory, the operation was overseen by the Secret Services, but the Federal Bureau insisted on having their piece of the action. The center was jointly directed by Tilkits, an ambitious high flyer for the feds, and by myself as a representative of the intelligence service. The research was led by Dr. Alexander Korsakov, a Soviet defector who died during the incident. Alright, but that doesn't tell me the real name of Tilkits. I can give it to you, but I don't know if it'll help you much. I guess he retired a while back. Lewis Parker. Wait, Lewis Parker is Tilkits? Of course it crossed my mind. Had it? It seemed too far-fetched to give any credence. Do you know him? He's here as a special consultant for the Bureau. Like, give another nervous laugh. If Tilkits is here, I don't give much for your chances. I'll definitely want to get the object back. Yes, I gather it's you who's got it. No, I don't want anything to do with that damn thing that destroyed my life. But if you value your own life, you better be doubly careful. I wish you the best of luck, my friend. The only possibility of the uprising that Ernest had spoken of became a far graver threat. Maybe about this creature. It's an entity that was asleep in the object. When we began our research, we woke it. Breathe it. Of course, we didn't realize at the time. By the time we tried to act, it was too late. You know where this entity comes from? Oh, exactly. The two main hypotheses are that either it's of extraterrestrial origin or it comes from, how should I put it, from another dimension. See my skepticism, Lloyd added. Oh, don't look at me like that. Well aware of how implausible it sounds. I imagine you've seen enough strange occurrences in Greenhearth to be able to appreciate the gravity of what I'm saying. Anyway, strictly speaking, we never managed to establish contact, but it quickly became apparent that this entity was not pacifist. The fire at the hospital. We hoped it had perished, but there was a chance it had managed to change hosts. You know what its plans are? Not exactly, but in my opinion, its main objective is the same as every other living species: to survive. Bearing in mind that it seems to have no way of reproducing, my hypothesis is that it will try to make contact with its own kind. Considering the menace that just one of these creatures represents, I dread to think what would become of us if it succeeds. You know how it would go about contacting its own kind? A radio signal. It would have to find the right place and the right time to set the signal, and I suppose it might need the object. Explains why Morrison had taken the radio equipment at the old hospital. What do you call the object? The bell. What does it do? We found it during the work on the dam. The excavations unearthed a strange archaeological site. The work was stopped and the research team, overseen by the Federal Bureau and the Secret Services, was sent in. The archaeologists did their job, then we continued our research in a research center which was set up nearby and which must have been powered by electricity from the Greenhearth Dam. The old hospital. Exactly. Listing this site as a medical center was just a front, obviously. Our research quickly focused on this object that looked like a bell. We realized that this object allowed the fusion of living beings, considerably slowing their aging, increasing their physical strength and their resistance to disease. The graph was that the dominant personality had to remain permanently in control of the fused entity or cooperate to share the control. Like Oskar and Ettore. Yes, Oskar Morrison and Ettore Margerano were working together during the Burr-Coach project. Morrison was working on the radio waves and Margerano on the particle physics. It was Morrison who took over when Coach was disbanded, and after the incident, the other personalities were put into a chemical sleep. What could have happened for Morrison and Margerano to find themselves in conflict? I can only see one possibility. In reality, the entity Morrison Margerano was the host that allowed the creature to survive the incident at the hospital. When Morrison stopped his treatment, the creature awoke too. Hold on. Do you mean to say that this creature has actually been controlling Morrison from the start? Control's a strong word for it. According to our research, it can take over any time, but it can't completely control the host except for a limited period. That explains Morrison's odd behavior. He was constantly forced to use subterfuge so that his actions didn't awaken the suspicions of this creature that spied on his movements from the shadows. I see. But it gave me a moment to digest all this information. You know why the creature is going after the survivors? I don't know why exactly, but I suppose we must constitute a threat to its plans. You know how to stop it, once and for all? Fortunately, I don't. We thought it perished in the fire of the hospital. Look at the result. Leave. Time to go. My associates are ready, if you would. Lloyd interrupted me. You go! I have no intention of moving from here. Alright. Thank you for all your precious help, Mr. Lloyd. He nodded and pulled his hood back up. Go in Christ's peace, my son. I hurried to meet Gianna and Ernest in the cloister. It was Bull who I saw first. I approached him and felt a hooded shadow brush against me. The shadow grabbed Ernest by the collar, and beneath the hood I could make out Morrison's face, but his gaze was cold and distant, as though he were a passenger in his own body. You were lucky at the hospital, but that's over. I grasped at him, pulled on his shoulder to make him release Ernest. But he swept me aside with the back of his hand, effortlessly. His hood had slipped, but now the features had changed. It was no longer Oskar, but Ettore Margerano who had control. He held the bell in his hand. You gave me more of a run for my money than I expected, but the path ends here and now. Spoke in a strange, almost metallic voice, which sent an uncontrollable shudder of terror through me. Was the creature speaking through Margerano's mouth? Will it communicate? Ettore, or perhaps I should say, the thing, turned, causing Bull to stumble and throwing him onto me as if he were nothing but a wisp of straw. And with its other hand, it raised the cursed bell above its head, making it ring. Then the air seemed to harmonize in a strange frequency, and the unspeakable happened. Ernest's face seemed to melt into my arms, forming a misshapen clump of flesh beneath my stupefied gaze. There was pain, but adrenaline, for sure there's the E missing, and shock held us as I watched impotent, the unthinkable. We fell screaming to the ground, Ernest, me, not knowing where one began and the other ended. The federal agents arrived at a run in small groups alerted by our cries. Discovering the grotesque monster that Ernest and I had become, one of them took aim. I'd opened fire. We were done for. Everything that happened next happened very fast. Gianna appeared behind the agent who was preparing the fire as if she'd come from nowhere. In one short, precise movement, she disarmed him, snatching his weapon away and neutralizing him with the butt of the gun before drawing her own service weapon. The other feds didn't have time to react to this new threat. They collapsed one after another as the sheriff's lethal bullets rapid and precise took them out. In a few moments, most of the agents had been wiped out, and those who had been spared had chosen to flee, as had Margerano, who had used the general chaos to slip away quietly. Bull, Fox, can you walk as far as the car? Cried. So was Ernest. Painfully nodding her head, we dragged ourselves to the vehicle. Gianna was silently evaluating our options as we went down the hairpin bends that separated the Abbey from the town when my telephone began to ring. Without taking her eyes off the road, she grabbed it, answered, and put it on speaker. Ah, detective! I wasn't sure you'd answer in the circumstances. This is the sheriff. Fox can hear you, but he's not able to speak to you. What do you want? It's simple. My radio equipment disappeared during a little meeting at the Abbey. I'm prepared to free Fox's wife if you bring it to me. Yeah, you have 24 hours before hanging up. During that Parker hadn't joined the altercation, we had some idea who the thief might be. Gianna turned off toward the police station, which was the place where we had the best chance of finding Parker and the equipment. Nothing had prepared us for what we would find at the police station. A violent brawl had clearly broken out between Parker's group and those loyal to Curtis. The parking lot was littered with bodies in dark suits. But there was more important things. It was crucial that Ernest and I retook complete control of our shared body. I need to be able to think clearly, but these sensations in my body distorting as soon as I relaxed my attention on with Bull's inevitable presence in my mind, heavily limited my cognitive abilities. There's no hope finding Jody in these conditions. Ricky, we can't keep going like this. You have to take control. Hey, but how? You have to find something to stabilize yourself. Others' patients all developed a tick to take control. You have to find yours. Easier said than done. You'll figure it out, I'm sure. Anyway, we've got no choice. Fox? Are you coming? Gianna was watching me with concern. Realized I was standing in the middle of the parking lot, talking to myself. Yes, I'm coming. Precinct break room was covered with the scars of the recent armed struggle between the feds and Parker's turncoats. I tried to ignore the lifeless bodies strewn across the room. All that would have to wait. Gianna signaled to me that she was going further into the building, probably to check that the zone was secured. I responded with a silent thumbs up. As for me, my problem was very different. I needed to find a way to get complete control over my body. What would help me do that? No idea. I remember how I groped around to find it. One of the victims wasn't wearing the dark suits of a federal agent, but was dressed in fatigues instead. Did that mean Parker was under orders from a paramilitary division? If that was the case, our enemies would have a large numerical superiority to us. We need to be even more careful. William Curtis remained where he'd been surprised and killed by Parker's men, lifeless. Had he seen the betrayal of his special consultant coming? Probably not. I was furious and I could feel that Bull was too. This wasn't going to help me get control. Out there. Map. The map of Greenhearth. I'm going to draw a question mark on its own. Position was near the dam, a little out of town. This is where the creature had chosen to live since its return to Greenhearth? It's possible to say, but it was still a clue and we really needed those. The cat's here, and we got this. Photo of Jody. What's that doing here? It must have fallen out of the file the feds had made on me and my family, and that was the only possible explanation. I concentrated on the picture, trying to remember what was at stake with my mission. Here. Now. In the work, after a few minutes, I felt more in control. And the cat. Arthur's cat. I remember that I had promised myself that I would take it home with me, but it had been possible to find it when I had hurriedly left town after the hospital. Jody, she loved that animal. I loved her back. It would spend all his time on her lap when we visited Arthur. At least that was before he left for Greenhearth. Now Arthur was pushing up daisies, and Jody... Oh, I can't think about what might have happened to Jody. I have to save her. I've got no choice. I remained for a minute, the cat purring vigorously on my knees and the photo of Jody in my hand. Bit by bit, I felt Ernest's presence sink back into my mind. He was still present, but as if he were asleep. Just as I was about to go and find Gianna, she entered the room. Fox, you look a lot better. Well done. Are you feeling alright? I adjusted it. Yes, I was okay. Great, because I found the survivor. You want to talk to him? Yes, let's go. A rookie fed had taken refuge in Gianna's office. Obviously overwhelmed by what had happened. Detective Ricky Fox, I've got a few questions for you. I know who you are, Mr. Fox. Special Agent Frank Busby, or are you gonna get me out of this, detective? Tell me what you know first. Okay, what do you want to know? What happened here? Can you tell me about the attack? It all happened very fast. Just finished my coffee and... Busby, cut to the chase, please. Sorry, well, it just got new results from the science team. Remember the map that was pinned up in the break room? The circle area corresponded to the new coordinates. Mr. Chris asked us all to come into the meeting room for an update, but I was late. Tell me why you're late. Suddenly, there were noises and shooting, and I hid. I waited until there were no more noises, then I went to the sheriff's office. Sorry, I went to your office, ma'am. Fiona waved her hand to show him she wasn't offended. Then you came. You didn't see anything of the altercation? Well, no. A pity. I'd hoped he'd have a few crumbs of information to share about the mercenaries Parker had recruited. Alright. Yes? I'm not gonna get fired because I hid, am I? You're just lucky to be alive. You know where I can find Parker? I know I've got no idea. Sorry. I haven't seen him since he left for the Abbey. I don't really see how Busby could know. Anyway, if I find Morrison, I guarantee that Parker won't be far. Anna wasn't wrong, I just asked the wrong question. You know the location of Oskar Morrison? Well, I'd know if I'd been at the meeting. There was a zone circle on the map of the town in the break room. Do you think that could be information we're looking for? Oh yes, probably. I'll go and get it for you if you like. I think I know where Curtis's notes are. A few minutes later, the three of us were bent over the map that Frank Busby had unrolled on the sheriff's desk. Gianna, do you know what's there? Yes, it's an old building lot. The work was stopped after the incident at the hospital. Morrison's home is on that side of town. I can't see how he wouldn't know about this place. And what did Curtis's notes say? It says in his report that this is in all probability where Oskar Morrison is hiding. From what I understand, they track the location of the different signals sent back by the radio frequency detection algorithm at regular intervals, and this would be the present location of one of the electromagnetic anomalies. This anomaly went from Greenhearth's health center to the Abbey before returning and stopping the miracle zone on the map. Which corresponds precisely with what we know of Morrison's route. Fox, I think we've got him. I guess that was the information Parker was waiting for to start his insurrection. Yes, and I suspect he's already out there. Check with Gianna and leave. Alright, I think we've got all we need. Do you know how to get to this building lot, Gianna? Yes, we'll take one of the service cars. What about me? What do I do? I saw the corner of my eye that Gianna was ready to draw her weapon. I gestured to her to calm down, and she reconsidered. If I were you, I'd get my stuff and get out of Dodge. Okay. Long pause before Busby understood. Uttered some tangled apologies and finally left the room. I'm not convinced it's a good idea leaving a witness. But okay. In any case, we didn't really have the leisure to dwell on the question. Creature asked us to contact it if we found its radio equipment. Yes, but since we already know its location, we don't need to tip it off unnecessarily. Hey, I just hope Parker has been smart enough not to take the equipment with him. If things go wrong, the creature will be holding all the cards to put its plan into action. I wouldn't count on it. Parker probably believes that the equipment will be as safe as wherever he and his men are around to protect it. Well, Fox, how's it going with Bull? Still there. It's as if he's asleep. I'm the one in control, for now at least. Good, because I'm gonna need you to have my back. Give a small sigh and added with determination. Great, there's no point hanging around here. Let's go. Arthur's cat had come into the room and began to rub itself up against the sheriff's legs, purring and meowing plaintively. He took it in her arms before grabbing a set of car keys. We headed off at top speed towards the creature's lair. We'll deal with this next time. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to consider liking, commenting, and/or subscribing, and also check out the description below. Thank you, Player2PR, for the code. And yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time, Bringing T signing out. Bye!